All right. Good morning, everyone. It's always good to have you all here with us. Good morning to all of you with us over the internet. As always, we're here to do our lecture. Today, we're going to be talking about something very important. That's something that I have been talking so much lately in our society, which is mental health. So mental disorders and spiritism, to be more precise. And it's going to be our friend Kata, who's going to be doing, Katarina, is going to be doing our lecture. But as always, before we start our lecture, we're going to have our friend Patrick doing our initial reading and our initial prayer for us.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning. So, we are all destined for happiness, for perfection. The road to be traveled is long, at times marked by thistles or covered by rocks. However, the route is the same for all, because nobody exists who could be considered an exception. Those who encounter fear, sorry, those who encounter fear difficulties are receiving and in keeping with the circumstances on the basis of their behavior in previous incarnations. Those who face more tribulations are, in the same way, reaping the results of their unfortunate acts. In this way, evolutionary distance is covered step by step. Be glad about the fortunate destiny that awaits you and which you will reach. So now, let's close our eyes, elevate our thoughts to our Master Jesus, and thank the opportunity to be here another week for this lesson and for the blessing that we are always receiving. Please, we ask for the mentors of this house to involve everybody and involve our friend Katarina to give us this lecture. Thank you, and so be it.
All right. Good morning, everyone. Happy Father's Day. Father's in the house. It's funny how nothing is random. I have to choose a message for the initial prayer, and it right away it was the message that we just heard. And we all have our path, and what do we see? What's presented in our path? It's just a continuation. It's just a summary of what we did before. So we are literally reaping our past, our previous incarnation. It's exactly what we're going to talk about today. Where's the? I didn't try it. Should I turn it on? I guess.
Yeah, it's almost high.
Sorry.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah,
So, I know it's intuitive, but it's. Oh, okay. Yeah, see. I know it's intuitive to use like that,
Yeah.
but it's not. It's like this. Okay, thanks. There you go. Interesting subject we have to discuss today: mental health and spiritism. When we encounter that kind of situation in our family, within ourselves, with our, I don't know, neighbors or someone on the street, I think no matter your beliefs, the first thing we ask ourselves is why, right? And every religion, every belief goes through the question, why? It's not easy, first of all, to have this situation, and it can be frustrating, revolting. It, as any challenge that we face in life. I happen to have a case in my family. I have a small case, mild autistic child, and you can tell it's a lesson for everyone. It's a challenge, and if I didn't have my beliefs, it would be really hard to deal with. And I don't even have a
a tough situation at home, as I've seen around. So I'm really glad that I have this, and we're gonna see how, why, and especially our view shows the purpose of it. So it's not just understanding what's happening, but what can you do with it? What's the purpose of this situation in your lives? So I'm really glad that I have Spiritism to navigate to this. And in this purpose, we think not only about the person who's going through the illness. It's clear that it's a lesson, something we're reaping from our past, and it's not just for the little individual, for example, that I have at home that someone might have who may have seen. A special family situation occurred to have the whole setup of that individual. And it goes beyond through the professionals, through the society. These individual cases, they expand through family, through school, through the professionals that learn, and to society. They impact everyone. They teach a lesson already to each one of us. To me, I think the first lesson we learn is to humility. You deal with limitation. The individual does, the family does too. All the expectations you have as parents, forget about it. The planning, oh, I'm gonna have a child, it's gonna be wonderful. It is, but it's a roller coaster, and the situations like that can really push our boundaries and make us either evolve or unfortunately suffer a lot with it. When talking about mental health, the biggest challenge we face today is the fact that the fundamental model of medicine is still very materialistic. It's very based on the physical body. So when we talk about mental illness, it's implied that there is something in the brain, something physical that's causing that. Like every disease, if you have a cold, there will be a virus in your system. But when dealing with mental health, it's not exactly like that. And sciences are still, it's hard to, I'm not technical on the subject, but mental health, you cannot just do an MRI, an X-ray, and you see it fluctuates the way the disease presents on each individual. And it varies in all the analysis that science does on the brain. Someone diagnosed with the same mental disorder can present the brain in infinite different ways. Yes, you can identify the disease, but it varies so much that science is still trying to grasp a way to actually understand. So there's a lot that science needs to accomplish, and we as a spiritists will see that there is another side of the mental health. As we mentioned already, it's nothing less than a consequence of things we did before. When I was, to me, thinking that any disease is not related to the mind, to the spirit, it's like the first fraction of a second when I was reading, I was like, how is that possible? How can we not think about the spiritual? Thank God for my belief, because most scientists and doctors, they don't see that. They look at the individual just as the physical, and mental health cannot be like that. There's much more involved into it. So again, I'm so glad about Spiritism. And when talking about diseases, of course, we go to the generic situation. And going back to what we mentioned before, family, what's family? for spiritists. It's nothing more than spiritists that are reunited by affinity. And affinity is not only meant to happen through love. You can have a hate relationship with someone and you're tuned in the same vibration. That's affinity too. And that's why we have families who love each other, family members, and some that are very difficult to even watch. And I have a friend who she can't deal with her mother, a mother who is the strongest bond you can have in a family, a mother-daughter. But so why is that? Those are spirits that were attracted, connected, and this is family. As well as you can love someone so much that you come together in a family. So it can be sympathetic, antipathetic affinity, and again, it brings bond of love or hatred. So when an illness arises in the family, again, it's not an individual issue. I went back and I tried to search why I have this situation in my case through many other ways. So to me, I understand why I have a child the way I do today. But when you don't, it's really hard to deal with it. Thank God I love her and but the challenge for me is can be hard to accept, let's say. But the point is situation in a past life, or yeah, mostly past life, of things that I did, she did, made our plan to be that way. And it's not random. It's hard to deal, but it makes sense. And in the end, at some point, we'll understand. If not, unfortunately, no one understands. No one will fully understand all the troubles and challenges that we go through life. But there is a way sometimes to see it. And if we can't see, can't understand, I think our doctrine explains to us, through different ways, and I think it's enough for us to understand that as hard as it can be, it's part of a plan for our moral evolvement or development, and it's an opportunity for everyone to evolve. I'd say that the main role of the family that has an individual with mental disorder, with a mental difficulty, it's first of all, you have to put in practice your love, your charity. I experienced a family with a very difficult case of degenerative disease. The child was born, and as she was getting older, she was becoming less and less functional. They gave us up to 13 years. She lived up to 34 years old. And I don't think it was a coincidence that she lived so much after. The family her mother was just like, it was so nice to be close to her. Those people that you get nearby and you feel like, I just want to be near you because it's so nice. That was her mother. The dedication of that woman to that girl, it was unseen, because you need a lot of patience, extremely levels of love. And not only just the mom was exceptional, but the whole family. And she, of course, she had supports of some, people that could come and help the family, but still, that help, that support brought the level of that individual girl to a much better condition for her to evolve. What she learned from her mother about love, not many people did. So that's another importance of the family and everyone around, not just a family member, but whoever is around you that to see. Sometimes you see someone, especially in Toronto, right? Not really well with their minds, and we just want to go away, turn around, and not ignore. But that's the opposite of what they need, right? They need to go through this love so they can evolve. So again, when dealing with mental health, we need to look back to past causes of it. We need to look at reincarnation, the law of cause and effect. Nothing happens randomly. And we're also going to look at obsessions, because we know it plays a really important role for mental disorders. But the point is that every disease brings a spiritual point related to it. Any, I'd say any. Today we're talking about mental health, but we know that when we incarnate and we have some physical difficulties, again, it's not random because there was a problem during pregnancy. And no matter how sometimes moms feel so guilty about something that happened to the child, oh, what did I do when I was pregnant? Or we have a guilt feeling that is really strong. But of course, we have some responsibility, yes. But if you don't have intention of doing anything and something happens, be more loving with yourself. That would be my humble suggestion, because we know that nothing happens for a reason. But yeah, every spiritual disease, especially the mental one, we come with a big package of life experiences. And if you look at our lives right now, as we mentioned here before, this is the best life we're having. We are right now at the top of our evolution, each one, right? This is the best I've seen from you guys, so congratulations. You reached the top. And if you think about your lives right now, can you imagine the lives before? How, as we're growing older, we become a little bit more mature, we see things differently, we come to TSS. And can you imagine what our lives were before? Thank God we forget about it. Thank God we have the veil of forgetfulness to put a barrier on that and make us not even think about everything that we not only did, but suffered too, because before we were dealing with people even less evolved. So we may have got hurt so badly. We may have hurt people, and that guilt feeling comes with us. And that's where the mental disorders are connected, because we bring everything in our subconscious. We don't remember, but we feel it so much that our minds are not perfect. We may not have a diagnosis, but we're far from being perfect. We're far from having a still, calm life, even as a spiritist, because we're so evolved. So this package is always in the back of our minds. And it's not clear because we can't analyze, we don't know, we just have it within us. And mental disorders are really connected to that part of ourselves that we don't even know where it is, but it's here with us somewhere. It's within our spirit. We forgot about some stuff, but not really. It's a very complex being that we are. And so we have to keep an eye on those causes for our mental health, right? When talking about the origin of mental health for an incarnated being, as we know, either you are born with it, and even when you're pregnant, you can tell if your child is going to be diagnosed with Down syndrome or not. So it comes from birth, some mental disorders. Or you come with this predisposition. And sometimes that's where the brain, the medicine can catch in your brain, through the genetic, through your brain, through all the analysis that I'm not ready to talk, because I'm not a professional here, but we can see the predisposition in our body to have that. And what's it that's gonna trigger or not? So we have our triggers in our life, our lifestyle, um, our actions, especially, will define. It's like a ticking bomb. We have this inside us, and at some point, depending on our lives, boom, depression. Something happens, or life is so crazy, all the technology, go, 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 and then you start having like those panic attacks and stress, and you develop anxiety. Some people do, some people don't. It's because we come with that predisposition. And these predispositions, as we said, based on what we did before, right? And our actions and what we are doing with our lives now, our actions is going to mold ourselves to develop the disease or not. So we have this little lion inside just waiting for the opportunity to come alive. And I'd like to talk a little bit about depression. Depression was the disease of the century, last century. The number of cases of depression, they say 17 to 25% of the planet has some sort of a level of depression. 17 diagnosed, and as we know, no one likes going to a psychiatrist, so many cases are not even seen because people avoid going to doctors for that, right? For some reason, we fight with that. So the number can be very, way bigger than what we can read and statistically prove. Spiritism considers depression as a disease with organic and psychological components. In this sense, the spirit may reincarnate with a predisposition, which was acquired in another life, to develop depression, requiring only a few precipitating factors to trigger the symptoms. So depression is an example of those mental disorders that will be pushed through life, depending on how you live your life, depending on, your actions, what you're doing, depending on how you take care of your mental health, your spirituality. All those factors can help controlling the depression itself. And depression is definitely strongly connected to our past actions. Depression is a guilt feeling that we have, and it's in our subconscious. Again, we probably didn't do many good things in other lives. We don't remember, but it's within us. And it's through our life here that we will start having, the depression. Why? Because, and you don't know why. Depression is a crazy thing. To tell you the truth, I was diagnosed with depression, and it's crazy how your mind loses control of your acting, of everything. So I have my ups and downs sometimes, and when I feel I'm getting there, it's so hard to get out of it. And I don't think I have a super deep situation happening with me, but from what I can feel, it really pulls you down. And people around, they have to be very patient. Again, not a coincidence. My husband is with me today. Everything is connected, or my family or my friends. Either they relate in the same situation, or they have some responsibility on the situation. Of course, it's more my own past dues, but doings, but who you attract, it's the spiritual genetic, I'd say, you know. If we have a bond in doing things that are not great in this life, next life, when we come with a whatever diagnose we get, we'll probably be together as good friends because we did the same thing in the past, right? So we connect and we're friends or we're family. And that's the affinity we bring. So we're building families right now. What you do, what you practice on your day to day, you start to have your friends. Like, oh, you like whatever. You go to school for engineering. You meet all these engineers. But you like doing charity. And then you meet all the charitable people, all the charitable. And then you're building your family because you're bonding and you're putting your mind and effort into that activity, into that day to day, your thoughts. So we are building families. So yeah, tell me who you are, and not tell me who you have your friends around, and not tell you who you are, right? That's it. We should pay attention to who is around us because they can come in a family next incarnation. Another, so yeah, so depression is it's like looking back. Depression is all about what you did that you don't remember, but it's hanging on your subconscious. And you know, we have to be more understanding, patient, and loving with ourselves because that's what depression needs. Depression needs love. It's like a mother that forgives the child for doing something that the child did wrong. We're still children in the evolution, so let's love ourselves. And the second most, you know, the biggest number of mental disease are depression and anxiety. And while depression is the looking back, anxiety is all about future plans, control, technology. You have to multitask at work and you have to go, and you have your goals and you don't achieve them, right? That's anxiety. It's all about the illusion of control. I I don't have a diagnosis with anxiety, but I think we all live that moment, right? We have a presentation at TSS and your hearts are racing, or you have a big job interview. Can you imagine living like that most of the time? It might be really difficult to deal with. So anxiety is really, right? And again, it's especially anxiety, you really have to focus on. I go to work with a friend who has anxiety. And you know, talking to her, I see that it's all she really has to have an easy, um, she has to bring awareness during her day, taking care of herself mentally, physically, to not fall into the anxiety holes that, you know, you have to step out of them going through life. That's how I see her. That, you know, by talking to her and listening from the experience. So anxiety is really about what you do with your life. Are you taking care of it? Are you meditating? Are you doing therapy? So it's sad how people don't like doing therapy, how people don't like to see if you have a mental diagnosis. Psychiatrists forget about it. No one does it. Psychology, maybe. I'd say 15% of the group here may have seen a psychologist once. And it's so important. It's someone who studied the mind, can help you to be better, but we have the prejudice against it, and no one does it. And if they go from the 15%, 10% of the 15 is women. The guys avoid even more. Maybe the girls need more. Depression, it affects way more women than men. So makes sense that more women should look for that. But still, it can affect anyone. And I just want to put one slide about it because what did I do? Yeah. Because mental that's a whole nother subject, but living with this anxiety, bringing this guilt from past life, living with these is really hard. And in tough moments, when more triggers come to our lives, that's where some people go. That's where they focus. They will just want to get rid of the problem. They just want to stop feeling what they're feeling, and we just want to end our lives. Unfortunately, to try to solve a problem that's not going to get solved. So just a few numbers. It's the second most common cause of death is mental health, especially depression. And again, 15 to 17% of the population has a form of depression. And these numbers are so high. And I wanted to bring a picture of where we are right now as a planet. From out of 5 levels, we're still hanging there on the second one. We have the primitive. We have where we are, trials and expiations. That's exactly what we're doing. We're going through trials. We're expiating our past. They say we're getting to the regeneration, which is halfway through. It's not great, because happy you're going to be on the 4th level. So happiness, happy planets, we still have to go through regeneration. So there's, where we are right now, it's not great, right? And everyone is facing challenges where we are right now. There's no one on the planet that doesn't have a challenge to go through. Some go through the mental problems, but there's everything happening right now. In the basket that we are, everybody has a lot of stuff to deal with. If I could throw some numbers, if the 15% that has depression, if you throw in this basket, I don't know, you're born with with a physical issue, or like a birth defect, or if you throw addictions, if you have problems with your heart attack, you develop some liver, whatever disease, it goes beyond 50-60%. Everyone has something to deal with. If you haven't covered yet, let's throw cancer into it. Everybody has something to deal with. That's why we're on the number 2 year. And we have to get better somehow, so we can stay with the planet when you reach number 3, a level of evolution. And that's another reason to, look around with more respect for people around us. We are all in this level. No one, maybe we function better, we go have a nice job, a family that looks good in a picture. Sometimes it's just about the picture on Facebook. There's a lot going on. So we need to be patient with ourselves and with everyone around us, because we're all in the same planet, in the same level of evolution. And talking a little bit about mental disorders and obsessions, because we're in the spiritual center, right? How can we differentiate someone who has a mental disorder and someone that's going through obsession? Because as we know, obsession can really make you go mental, but not necessarily gives you a diagnosis. Many studies were done, and when a medium is channeling a spirit, we can the heart beats can go up. You can have palpitations. You can sweat. So you have all the physical reactions of someone with a mental disorder. But if you run tests in your brain, you see nothing. If you run tests with your system, you see nothing. So we do have cases of momentarily mental disorder that can be caught through medicine. And the difference between the two is basically when you have an obsession, there are sporadic, isolated situations where this happens. It can be hard. My sister went through that when she was going through her mediumship, opening. It was hard to see her. She was, if we didn't have our beliefs in our family, and maybe if we were dated back then, she would have been in a house for mental people because she was violent, crazy, screaming, wanted to go after my dad. So if you don't have the knowledge, many cases of mental disorders are in psychiatric places because how can you tell, oh, it's a spirit influence? But you can, because it doesn't happen most of the day. It's isolated cases. And of course, doesn't get diagnosed as well. But a mental disorder, yes, it's a more continued, the trances are more, happen more often. So the correlation between mental disorders and obsession, the symptoms are the same. The symptoms are the same. You look at someone without a control of their mediumship, it's exactly like a mental disorder for someone. Can mental illness facilitate obsession? What do you think? Yeah, because we don't have control of our minds. So if you have the predisposition that we were born with, and you have an enemy from the past, it's a terrible combination. Because they're going to go and they're going to, if you have your guilt feeling, I notice that with myself sometimes. Sometimes I get really sad. And I'm like, but there's no reason for me to be so sad. And I'm there, But self-knowledge, you have to, it's so important because you can start to differentiate what's yours, what's influence. So if you have the predisposition and someone comes near you and you don't see that person, if it's just a random spirit, you can get rid of it somehow. But if it's an obsessor, then your levels, then it's going to be really hard to even have the isolated experiences, right? So if you don't have the isolation, like, okay, I attract someone and it's not an obsessor, but it's a spirit there, maybe it's going to go away. But if it's an obsessor, he's going to be on your side all the time. And it's going to be really hard for medicine to differentiate what's mental, what's not. And you might end up in a house just because you can't get rid of it because the person doesn't leave you. So yes, it can facilitate obsession. And it can be very problematic and hard to make the person heal. Again, are mental disorders influenced by spirits? Yes, as we said, very much so. And are mental disorders obsessions? No, as we saw. It's all about our own evolution path. It's all about, our own doings. And what happens? Why am I doing this? What happens when we discarnate someone who has a mental disorder? Well, the answer is someone who discarnates with a heart attack, someone who discarnated with a drinking addiction, someone who discarnates very angry at someone, nothing will change much. But depending on how you lived your life, you can get on the other side better. And let's not forget that once we leave here, there are way more hospitals out there. So it's not because you discarnate that you're going to be healed. Whatever the family, how the family treated you, no matter what you learn from this life, from the love that you received, it will, we're building our package, right? So bottom line, it's not going to change. It's going to be a continuation of what you're doing today and how that person is being cared through the family. And the hospitals up there will continue the treatment, maybe in a better way, but that's how important it is now, what we're going through right now. Help, love, and care are what makes the difference. And this is where medicine should focus, especially for the afterlife. And how can Spiritism help with mental disorders? Well, first of all, we have our fraternal assistant. It's so important. When you come here for a fraternal assistant, we bring our conscience that we want to get better. We're seeking for help. And that's when the spirits come and help you. They're not going to help someone that doesn't need help, doesn't even ask for help. So maybe it's difficult for us to look for a psychologist, for a psychiatrist, but at least talk to someone here. It might not be easy, but when you take your step towards your own betterment, that's when they come in and say, okay, you need help, you want help, I'll help you. But if you don't do your first step, if you don't call for a pizza, the pizza is not going to come to your home when you're hungry, right? So fraternal assistant, gospel of home, cannot stand stronger about this. The gospel home cleans our house, recharges our thoughts and mind, takes care of where you live. It's so important to see the spiritual group that comes to guide you through the study, to clean the energy of your home. We have the passes. It's not coincidence, it's called healing passes. It does heal in the same way as prayer. I have this is from Divaldo de Franco. He talks about fluid therapy, passes, prayer. The spiritual pass at the spiritual center can be therapeutical, not just preventive, because the spiritual team is present and can help preserve biological aspects of procuring the brain. So you can come here and protect yourselves, or you can come here and literally be clean. If there is something that they can do for you, the passes, the fluid will do. In many mental illnesses, the brain is inflamed. This inflammation can be alleviated and even reversed through fluid approach from both the incarnate and the discarnating. So when we're here receiving the passes, the incarnates are giving some magnetic energy. The spiritual team is giving some fluids to you. And so one day I came with a stress, tension in my shoulder, and no kidding, I left without it, inflammation, right? So if you're open and if you help with your thoughts, the past can be very, our thoughts produce germs, produce negativity. We have to me, it's clear how coming to TSS, gospel at home, prayer, when I'm confused and not focused on my spiritual path, it's clear how when I come back and I start doing work here or whatever, it's clear, crystal clear how it can help me. So health is the complete harmony of the soul. I just want to leave a little message. What have you been doing to find this integral health? Mind, body, spirit. We need to, the body depends on the mind, who depends on the spirits. So this cycle of health goes all around. And as a little conclusion, trials are not arbitrary, as we read in the message today, but are instead aligned with the spiritual needs and past actions of the individual. Another note, everyone wants to provide solutions, but the solution is life itself. So whatever turbulence we're happening and dealing with, it's just part of life. And last but not least, even the spiritists can have mental disorders. Thank you.
All right. Do you have any comments or questions on the internet? Any comments or questions?
I think it's a very important topic, as Kato was saying, and sometimes we put aside because of our pride, right? It's like, I don't want to, because in a way, mental health, when you talk about depression, is diagnosed, the illness that it's actually an illness, like autism and so on and so forth. I think that make us look weak. And then our pride kicks in, right? You don't want to show that you are incapable of controlling your own thoughts or your own way of thinking or perceiving things. So I do think sometimes it's important for us to, as a spiritist or as anyone, to be humble enough to first admit and accept, because that's the only way that you can actually move forward, is when you accept and then you can treat. Otherwise, you're just ignoring it. So how can you treat something that is not really there? So thank you, Kata. It's really interesting to open our minds a little bit more.
Well said. Yeah, we need to acknowledge it first, right? And then that's the only way to get through it.
And it's important to understand that there's always a connection with our perispirit when we talk about mental diseases and any diseases. And the perispirit, I think, is an organ that we cannot fully understand because it connects with our spirit and connects with our body cell by cell, as is explained in the book of the spirits and other books. So I think that's why we haven't reached the roots of all those diseases. We know there's influence in the body when you give a medication for depression. There's some changes in the chemistry of your brain that make you feel better. So one of the things is, if you have a diagnosis of mental disorder, like continue to take your medication should you need it, to not stop. Spirit center helps, but both things should be combined. And important to say that the last point is that even spiritists can have mental disorders. That's true, and it's important to say that we hear people say, "Oh, you have depression, it's lack of God, lack of faith." It's not. It's not lack of God in your life. It's not lack of faith. It's something that anybody can go through. Nobody's free. Like I said, this is a word of trial and expiation. We are exposed to those trials and expiation. Anybody can go through that. Let's just think, like, most of us here are Brazilians, and I think Canadians have some sort of envy of Brazil because of the weather, because it's sunny all year long. But in fact, Brazil is one of the countries that most consumes clonazepam for anxiety.
For anxiety?
Or the any mental disorders. It became a joke because we do joke of everything. But like we are one of the highest consumers of clonazepam in the world. So we come from a tropical country, very anxious and depressed. Why is that? It's not only the environment, it's not only the weather. It's a lot of things going on. And we need to reconnect, readjust our mind, and try to find this perfect harmony for health, which it's challenging, but we have to keep on going.
Oh, well said. Diana.
Thank you, Catherine. That's really nice. For me, it touched me a lot because it's what I do for a living. I work with people with special needs and mental health. And always, I'm there for 30 years working this as a case manager. And what always touched me, it was the mothers, the families, especially the moms. And I used to come home, how this professionally had touched me, and I came home totally devastated sometimes. Because why is happening with this mom? She's such a beautiful woman. Why, after so many years struggling to understand, I could find the Spiritism, that has taught me to like put my mind that okay, each of us have to go through something, and that was the plan because something. So, and I asked myself, why do I have to be doing this for survive, as a profession? And the situations that I have seen sometimes, it is very painful, very painful. Because different levels, right? And with autism, it's low, severe, and sometimes affect everybody, not only the family, not only the individual, and the society. It is still very, it's a lot of taboo, right? And that is what I think is making more difficult. The inclusion, people be accepted. So, and depression, I just also had the after, how to call, after birth?
Postpartum.
Postpartum depression, and it's scary. And nowadays you can see that even children, it's a lot of children committing suicide. That wasn't been before it didn't happen. So it is, they say that can be the next, how to say, the biggest disease in our society.
Which one, sorry?
The biggest disease, the depression and
Teenagers.
yeah, teenagers and young kids.
Yeah.
Even before teenagers. So yeah, thank you.
Yeah, when I came, I was like, oh, Tanya is here.
This morning I woke up thinking about you.
There you go. Yeah, she's definitely a professional expert in the subject. Yeah, we have a long way. Again, we're second level of evolution, right? And we have to charity. I think it's this the first word that I we have to think about. It helps in so many ways doing charity.
Yeah.
Working in a field, it's not coincidence. If you don't work, there's lots you can do so we can bring this planet a little higher, right?
Do the discarnated spirits that surround us, do they suffer from mental disorder? And as we heal, do they heal? Like, how does that? What's the interaction?
Again, when we discarnate, we don't literally cure ourselves, right? So we go with whatever evolution we have now. And yes, depending on what you did, you discarnate with your mental disorder. If you didn't evolve through it enough here, you will continue. At some point, of course, we're all gonna get healed. But in the discarnate world, as in here, whatever you see here, you're gonna see when you disconnect. So if you can heal yourself, and you can only deal with yourself. By healing yourself, you're not gonna cure anyone around you. But you connect with others, you're gonna have affinity. Your affinity with others will differ. But that's why I put that slide. From here to there, nothing much changes. There will be hospitals, there will be family members receiving those people that need help, no matter what kind of help, right? We all need help. So there will be people, depending on what you deserve or not, that will receive you and continue taking care of you until you reincarnate again, forgetting about everything. Maybe your mental disorder will be lessened and you're going to have a clearer mind in next life. But it's a continuation. There is no, it's this, it's that. It's a continuation. It's an evolution of everything. Make sense?
Like Kata said, it's you only can cure yourself in terms of because it's your own. Each one has its own path, right? So yes, if you have a mental illness, you will bring with you to the other side. But to your point, that if I take care of my depression here, can I help someone on the other side? Yes, you can. You can. Although it has to be still the spirit in there. It's their own choice to get better, right? They only can help themselves. But maybe my example of following the path of trying to look for help, to try to fight that depression, anxiety, and there's so many other mental illness that we're talking about here, schizophrenia and so forth, so on. But the fact that I'm here, that I'm fighting, that I'm doing my best, that I'm looking for help and everything, I can inspire the spirit on the other side to do the same. Mm-hmm. And also, I stop feeding each other, because that's what it is. We create a connection and we start feeding each other. So my depression, because now we're vibrating equally and we feed each other. When I'm actually get better, I break that connection. So first of all, I stop feeding the depression on this other spirit. Mm-hmm. They can have the option to go and connect with someone else because you're not vibrating like me anymore, but he is, and I'll go. It's free will. Or like Kata said, on the other side, there's helping there as well, the same way they're having here. We have, like no solar, it's a whole city over there, has hostels and everything. Or I can say, maybe I should do the same. There's someone here beside me also offering help. Maybe I should also accept this help. So yes, by helping ourselves here on this side, we definitely can help them on the other side as well, to be inspired to look for help and everything, right? So yeah, that's exactly right.
Just the last thing, physical exercise, it's a very important point too.
Yes. Yeah, you find your own. That's right. You have to take care of the body. It goes both ways. Our body helps the mind and spirit, and the spirit affects the body and the mind. We have to take care of the three levels. Right?
All right. Thank you, Kata.
Thank you, everyone.
All right. Thank you, everyone, who was here with us over the internet today. We're hoping to see you next week here again.